The Upfront Toronto podcast.
Hello, Katy. Welcome to Upfront Toronto, conversations with people that move the city forward. I'd like to introduce Katy Chan. We're really excited to talk to her today. She is being described as a serial entrepreneur. She's been into fashion. I've consulted with her several times about fashion and design and stuff. She has an amazing eye for that. She's gone to BizStart for entrepreneurship, and then a couple of years ago has gone to Stratford Chef School. Today, and for the past, I think, 10 or 12 years, she's a partner, owner, and a chef of the Neon group of restaurants. So I believe there's a cafe, there's a bar, they do catering, and actually there are two cafes. Welcome, Katy. What did I miss there? Can you add anything?
No, I think you got everything on.
Very cool.
Awesome. So Katy, we're going to start with questions around one of the hot topics these days, which is COVID. And we just want to know, how has that affected the business, particularly your area of the business? What have been the drawbacks? What have been the opportunities? And what have you learned about yourself in that process?
I would say one of the drawbacks would simply just be, loss of income. And another drawback would be just downsizing our staff. So we have a pretty close-knit group of staff, and, to have to lay people off because we just simply don't have the work, that's been really saddening, but also it's a big adjustment for our team. So, taking on a bigger role perhaps than you normally would have with more people around. I think just constant change, constantly trying to adapt, it does take a toll on you personally and professionally, and everyone sort of is just struggling a little bit more.
So you found then, am I correct in saying then that you found that you've had to kind of wear more hats than you would have before?
Oh yes. Yeah. More hats, and not just me. I mean, I'm used to wearing a lot of hats, and I'm, that's fine. It's part of my normal role, but I think seeing everyone sort of adjust, people going, okay, maybe I'm the baker, but I've got to receive the produce order now, or maybe I'm trying to think of another example. I'm in charge of online ordering, but now I'm also going to be, helping to create menus and take photographs or something. And so there's a lot of adjusting, and then, change is so difficult sometimes when you're not used to it constantly changing. It's quite an adjustment.
Katy, how was, so COVID was a year, and hopefully we're on our way out of it. What has it created any opportunities for your restaurants?
Yes. Well, I would say the opportunities are sort of personal and sort of internal, but they're also looking outwards, sort of inside with the people. I would say a lot of people, we really examined the roles that we had initially set out to make the business work, and sort of saying, okay, well, maybe we can be a little bit more flexible with these roles, or perhaps there's a role that we've never considered before that we should really look at.
Do you have examples for instance?
So, Jen, who started working for us recently, Niki and I were struggling to, move everything online, and we were sort of struggling with restructuring the reorganization of the business. And, we saw an opportunity with her. She's a friend, and she has a lot of experience sort of with online platforms, but also with restaurant service, and just she knew the business, and she knew kind of how to navigate the sales platforms. And so Jen came on to work with us, and so we've created a whole new role that's just sales and marketing. And she just understands how to work with front of house people and kitchen people and get the job done.
That happened because Jen was available because of COVID. There was
Yes.
That opportunity, and you had time to restructure.
Yes, definitely. We had time to think about it. Where are we weak, and where can we really use some help? Based on the current issues we're having, and that was one of them. Yeah.
Yeah, so I see, like, it's amazing. I think you are quite unique in the industry, that your business went down very fast, very quickly. A bar, you cannot do deliveries. It's really hard to do deliveries. I mean, but you've adjusted amazingly. One is you increased capacity of kitchen at your cafe, brought in that massive hood, and are having more space to manufacture, plus building a whole new patio, which is massive also and beautiful. And you're preparing yourself for coming out of this whole period, which is, I think, inspiring. And I honestly can't think I would have done a better job. Most likely not.
So what have you learned about yourself? Because we've spoken to several people who have businesses, and obviously COVID has stretched people probably beyond what they thought they were capable of, because of how fast it happened and how uncertain it's been. So I'm curious to understand what it is personally you've learned beyond the business.
Personally, I think that the time to consider things, when you're in regular operation, it's like go, go, go. How many things can I achieve in one day? I'm like constantly trying to, finish up projects and, keep on top of other projects. And, there's a never ending list of things that must be done or that are important. And it's more an issue of juggling priorities. And I think what I've learned personally through COVID is just to take the time to process your thoughts and to marinate on bigger decisions that might take naturally longer, and to just say, okay, well, I don't have the answer for that yet. Let's marinate on it another week. Let's not.
It's a luxury, isn't it?
It's time is such a luxury, and I think
Yes.
we don't remember that sometimes when we're really focused on our career.
Yes.
Do you know, to me, I had something similar. I went on sabbatical, as you know, a year ago, and it just happened to coincide with COVID. But just having that ability to take time off is a luxury, and we don't encounter it in day-to-day life when we're working and running and putting out fires all the time. For me, the first few months, like, things came out. I needed that time to stop doing, to have certain fears or angers come out. And when they moved out, they made space for other things that followed suit, and more creativity and looking at life differently. I'm really curious to see how people change their lives coming out of this year of the possibility of a new reflection on how we live.
Yeah, so I don't think we're going to work the same way ever again. I think, we forgot, everybody forgot, how nice it is not to work so much. A lot of my staff are just like, oh, 4 days, it's enough. I'm fine with that.
We were talking to someone, a previous person on this podcast, and they were in Italy, and he said, I really like the lifestyle of the food industry there, because it's not like North America. You're not working days and nights and 6 days a week. Said, I had my nights off and some of my weekends were off. And when he came here, he wanted to replicate that. That was a goal for him, is to have a balanced lifestyle, which is very rare in this industry.
Yeah, definitely very rare. And I think part of my mission is to just get people to get my people get their salaries up, because if they're going to come in and work for 4 shifts a week, that's fine, and that should be enough for them. They shouldn't have to be working extra long hours to make a few more extra dollars like that. It seems silly to me at this point, really.
Yeah. Well, let's move to career section. What was your first job?
I was the neighborhood babysitter. I had a babysitting business. I ran my block, and
a babysitting business.
Yeah.
She ran the block.
I was very busy.
Please tell us more.
Well, I had a bunch of clients. It became sort of a bit more serious one summer. I became sort of like a daytime nanny, I guess. But Yeah, I had my clients on my street, and I had regular jobs, and sometimes they would call, the parents would call, and I'm sorry, I'm booked. Like, you got to book me a few weeks in advance because I'm in very high demand.
How old were you at that?
I did that, and maybe from when I was about 14 until I was about 17, I did it. Yeah.
Well, I guess
At a
people
low
trusted
price of,
you with their kids.
yes, that was $5 an hour. So, I mean, it was a good bargain, I thought.
Was that how much were other babysitters charging then?
I didn't do any competitive analysis. I don't think I knew what that was. I just thought, to me, $5 an hour was a lot of money. So I thought it's enough,
It's $5 to watch TV and eat snacks from the fridge.
Yeah.
So was it just you babysitting, or did you have like employees that
No,
you
it
would
was
source
me.
out?
It was me. Yeah, sometimes I would source out my sister because she's only a few years younger than me. So when I sort of moved on to take on other jobs, she took a lot of my clients and
Did you pass on the problematic kids to her?
no. There were some pretty horrible children. Yes, they were really bad.
And if they're watching now, I hope they know that they've grown up to be good kids.
I'm sure they have. They were just a handful.
Fair enough.
Katy, what would you consider to be your biggest career achievement?
I would say right now, having this business and being able to hang on to it through COVID is a pretty big achievement, I think. I think what Niki and I have been able to build together is I'm pretty proud of that.
Okay, and I wanted to say that probably and hopefully the greatest achievement is still ahead of you.
Oh, thank you.
Who or what do you consider as a source of inspiration?
I guess looking back, sort of reading through other people's, specifically chefs, stories and biographies, and I think honestly, anyone who's able to do this is I admire them because it's such a demanding position.
Do you have anyone
physically-
specific that you can think about?
There's a chef, I believe her name is Madeline. I forget her name right now, but she's on the first series of The Chef's Table. She went to Hong Kong. She's a Parisian chef, and her partner is Chinese. And she went and studied in Hong Kong and worked in some of the kitchens there, and then moved back to Paris and has this beautiful restaurant where she does like a tea sommelier service with the food, and cooks in this sort of like hybrid French Hong Kong style cuisine. And I remember watching her story and just being like, wow, there's so many things that I wouldn't have done. I wouldn't have, gone there. I don't speak the language. It's such a huge risk to go there. And she ended up having children when she was there, and she's just doing it. She has no sort of fears about just trying it and doing it. And I think, yeah, she's an inspiration to me for sure.
Yeah, the people that just do it, they have it's as if they're not captured by their mind, the ever questioning mind that stops us and is reasonable and is logic. Its logic keeps stopping us from doing things. And so many times you're right, you just get up and do it. I think that's a common denominator to a lot of entrepreneurs that we meet.
Yeah, there's a certain amount of just getting it done, and it happens a lot day to day for us. It's like, well, we're gonna do it. We're gonna get it done.
What would you consider as your biggest failure? And not necessarily with food. It could be before. It could be like anything.
Professional failure.
Yes.
I think not acknowledging that I had something about the restaurant business that I couldn't get away from. So I felt very, and I think a lot of people go through this, that it's not a worthy enough profession for me to take seriously or to commit my life to. There's another career out there for me that's more adult and more responsible. So not taking that desire seriously, and sort of continuing to work. I love both of my sort of two things that I love, design and food, continuing to work in the design industry, while also always holding on to a small restaurant job on the side and just not giving it the space that I should have given it, I think.
So in retrospect, you would put more stock in the restaurant business and your love for food and cooking and developing.
Perhaps I would have spent a little bit more time taking myself seriously as a restaurant professional, either front of house or back of house, but really latching on and like learning a bit more from some of the jobs that I had. I think I did them with relish, but I was always one foot out the door going on to the next thing. So.
Where do you think this came from? Is it from your family, from society, or was it like just inside your head?
I think it's from society. I think that, it's a lot of those sort of fringe professions, I don't know, this is a very, sex workers, like that's a job. I think like restaurant workers, that's a real job. People sustain their families. And, there's these sort of fringy jobs that people don't take seriously as a career. And I think it's unfortunate.
And in North America, I sense this in North America. When I look at Europe, for example, I've spent some time in Italy. To be a waiter in Italy is a profession. Oh, and and you have to be good. And whenever I've gotten, if I'm, was out at dinner or anything like that, if I got an older waiter, man, they were spot on. They, and I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that we tip here and that sort of minimizes things. And, there's a whole story behind that, but, they are very much, whatever they're doing with, 100% pride, maybe not 100%, but they're doing it with the pride that, this is a job. And I find North America is very different that way. Would you agree?
I would definitely agree. I think it unfortunately in the service industry, a lot of the positions are people are, it's just a very transient position. And so, to really, like I was saying, latch onto the job and like learn about the food, learn about the wine, learn about the finer points of service. We really only see that in the like higher end restaurants that are charging a lot. But, I've worked for a lot of small restaurants or like family businesses. And I think the difference is that you see people that are, saying to themselves, yeah, this is my life. This is my business and this is my community. And I'm proud of the job that I do.
Do you know, I think you'll see it more in small cities in North America where you're working the diner or whatnot. But while in the big cities, it attracts the younger people who are transient by nature. They're going to school, they're moving from one place to another. And Eliza, I wonder if it is the tipping system where you have to keep on proving yourself every time, and you're kind of judged by at every transaction, and the minimum wage is lower than the regular minimum wage. So there are all these elements, and I don't know what the answer is.
Well, me neither.
Yeah.
I think the fast food industry sort of that sort of middle ground between a full service restaurant and a fast food restaurant. There's this middle area now, the quick serve restaurant, where the service isn't as valued, and so you have the transaction and you move on, and the next transaction and the next transaction, and I think that service sometimes it gets pushed aside as being important.
Yeah, and then there's that owner-operator kind of business where the owner will care, and I mean, this is everything to them. They're all invested in that, and then you'll have the minimum wage employees there that some, if they're trained well, they'll be good. If not. There's you need luck there. So, I know I talked about it before, but Starbucks, even though they're a massive company, but how they treat their people is outstanding. Yeah. And either paying them more, giving them options. If they want to move up, they have chances to move up. I think they're masters in what they do. And there's a lot to learn from that, even for smaller businesses to learn from. Okay, do you know anybody who works for them, or?
One of our general managers used to work for them. Yeah, as a manager. And she got a lot of great leadership training there. Lots and lots of training goes into helping their staff achieve there. Yeah.
Katy, what's the best part of your job?
Definitely eating is the best part of my job. Last night we were, testing pepperoni, testing all kinds of things, and sort of being critical and tasting things, I think, is really, really fun. Recipe development is very fun. I don't get a great deal of time as much as I would like to spend on that, but working through issues, especially when it's a bread issue or like a sauce or something, or trying to achieve something that you've set your mind on.
I'm with you on food. It's so good. Our business is so, we sometimes go out and just to new restaurants to check things out. I love that. I don't know, a year ago, I stopped by your bakery and it's, Alon, come and taste these sourdough pitas. And obviously we make pitas, and we just sat there and ate all these different sourdough pitas that Katy was dishing out, and making different variations of them, and picking the best ones. That was so good. And now I think that sourdough is the basis for your pizza, if I'm not mistaken, which is honestly one of the best pizzas in the city. And I haven't had it for a week and I'm craving it already. So I think you'll be seeing me soon.
Thank you.
Katy, when you create something, whatever it is, and you taste it, do you know if it's going to be a hit right away? Do you have that sense?
No, there definitely is something when you eat something for the first time that you've been working on and you finally feel like, oh, this is it. I think there's a part of that you think there's a satisfaction in finally arriving what you've been trying to do. But you never, I would say there's a satisfaction in arriving at the thing that I'm trying to achieve. But yeah, you still never know how people are going to react to it, I think.
Katy, when you taste that and you know that's what you were looking for, it's almost and I know for myself, when I eat it, it's, yes, that's what even if I didn't know what it was, when you taste it, that's what it is, right?
Yes.
Do you know prior to that how it's supposed to be, or do you only get it when you taste it?
I do. I do know, because I think part of being able to navigate the sort of things that I want to do is constantly eating and constantly tasting. And so, and breaking down exactly specifically what is the thing that we want. Like, do we want sort of something sticky? Do we want it to feel like crispy on the outside and soft on the inside? Do we want it to be salty and sweet? Do we want it to be, gooey? Do we want it to be spicy? Like, all of these things, all of these words and all of these, ideas in your head, learning about the science of food and how to achieve the different textures that you want and how to use salt properly. Those are a lot of those things. And descriptive language, those are two things that kind of came together for me from my two different areas that I like to study. So like food and working creatively and design, and those two things sort of came together.
Yeah. Do you know, when I do the same and develop a product and I know it's right, that's what I was looking for. You mentioned then let's see if people like it. I don't care if people like it. I really want them to like it, but if they don't like it, to me, they're all idiots. They don't know what they're talking about. I've gotten to where I want to get, and this is how it should be. And then the question is, will the world accept it with open arms or not, is a different story. So Katy, who's your favorite competitor in the city?
Does it have to be in Toronto?
Yes, we're more Toronto centric.
Okay.
But now I want to hear what you were going to say beyond Toronto too.
Yeah,
now I'm curious.
Where do I have to go?
My favorite competitor, I would say, probably food dudes, I think, are doing an interesting thing. They've got food trucks and they've got a wholesale line, so they're selling their food in other cafes and sort of grab and go things. I know that they do bigger catering events and I think they're just interesting to me in sort of the diversity of the things that they do, but also the quality that they're able to achieve. You know, this place called Parallel, and they're pretty good. I mean, their food is their pitas are good. You know, the hummus bowls are very good. And
Why didn't you say Parallel first? I am highly offended.
no, I think there's so much competition. Definitely COVID has eliminated a lot of the competition, but I think for the better. I think that sometimes it's a little oversaturated in the city, and you know, everyone is less busy as a result. So
yeah, I think at the end of the day, the younger me was really worried about competition, and the older me today actually embraces it. So I think if we do things right, if we're authentic with ourselves, with our brand, and with our execution, there is nothing to worry about, and are willing to change. You know, if things are slowed down a little and whatnot, okay, what can I do better? How can I evolve? And that has nothing to do with competition 9 times out of 10, unless of course you have this aggressive a-hole that comes for you, but that's rare. And even then they can run out of steam at a certain point.
So what was, I have to ask, what was the outside of Toronto competitor that you followed?
Niki and I were in Venice Beach right before COVID sort of exploded. And one of the specific reasons we went there was to see the Justa and people. Like they have 2 or maybe 3 food outlets, but the way that they do things is very interesting to us. They sort of keep all of their production in-house. They're very produce focused. They make their own bread, but they've built their business on catering but also food service. But they also, you know, serve their community in terms of like grocery offerings and prepared foods. So, and that's even before COVID, we were really pushing to go in that direction, and COVID just gave us the firm push.
Liza, you want to be in that place. Justa is like, it's all this food is in front of you, and they're doing the catering there, and it's a massive production area, but also a serving area, and they just go to the patio and eat. It's a great place. It's
a beautiful, organized food chaos. It just looks so good. You go in there and all the things are laid out. They're all fresh, and smoked fish and fresh bread and all these salads
and everything is moving.
You want to eat everything. Like, it just feels that exciting.
Katy,
sounds like an experience.
Where do you see yourself in 5 years, business-wise?
I would love to see what's on the other side of this. I think that we want to grow in an organic way, in a natural way, in the way that, our community wants us to serve them. So I think for sure, like expanding the patio, I would love to see that fulfilled in the next few years. We have some plans to be cooking out there and, serving drinks out there. Potentially have some small weddings and events, and I would love to see that come to fruition.
Yeah, I think it would be much less than 5 years, that patio.
Yeah.
Hopefully it'll all get back to something we're all ready for.
Yes.
So we'll move to personal, Katy.
Okay.
Just to kind of find out a little bit more about yourself. Where were you born?
Well, I was born in Unionville with my parents. I didn't stay there very long though. We moved around a lot. So we were in Markham, we were in Richmond Hill, and then we eventually settled in Aurora.
In Aurora, okay. What are some of the key lessons you learned from your parents?
Oh gosh, I think my dad was he's sort of a bit more of a freewheeling guy. I think my dad really loves life. He loves food. One of the things he said to me that I really took to heart was like, never lie to people. And it was a very serious, he never really told me anything. And then the other thing was, buy good shoes.
That is wise advice. As I get older, I appreciate that much more.
I would like to add to that is buy a good mattress, because you're either in your shoes or on the mattress most of your life.
Yeah, that's yeah. And I definitely took that advice very seriously, took it to heart. Something I learned from my mom is just like hard work and, sticking to your decisions. You made a decision and see it through to the end. And I think that was a lesson that she was always, pushing on me, was like, well, now this is what you chose to do. And now you should live with the consequences of that. And it's a tough lesson, but I think following through is huge. In a lot of areas of life, but specifically professionally, following through on what you said you were going to do. I mean, I struggle a lot with that because I get excited and I start a lot of things, but
yeah, there's a level of commitment that's required to see something through. And in this day and age, just, we're so sort of distracted in things like, there's something shiny over there. And it's so easy to be pulled into a different direction.
You say it. You can, if you don't carry it further, you forget about it, but everyone else forgets it too. And then your word doesn't carry any weight really. But if you say it and then you carry it through and people get used to that, that's a game changer.
Well, I think some people in some cases do remember. They do remember you making a commitment, and then they remember you not following through on the commitment. And before you know it, that's a character trait that is following you in a sense.
And that would just be horrible. And I think sometimes some of my friends and I will say things like, let's do this thing. And it's like, okay, well, so-and-so can't make it and so-and-so. And it's like, you kind of go, okay, it sounds like this, this is not going to work out. And I think that's also fine. Okay, we tried this thing, it didn't work out, but at least we acknowledged that it didn't work out.
Right. We tried. Yeah. So what traits did you may have answered this already, but what specific traits did you inherit from your parents? Did you inherit the hard work from your mother?
I think my mother's very tough. And I think she went through some pretty hard times. I think like my parents split up and just sort of career-wise, I think she switched sort of later in her life to look after my sister and I. And so sort of watching her and her tenacity to survive and to like put us through college and to do, all the parenting things that you have to do. I think that's really admirable. I think like tenacity and staying with things, I think is something that I got from them, which also comes with stubbornness, but both of them are incredibly stubborn and strong-minded. And I think that's part of that is kind of what drives me a lot of the time.
Right.
Is that what drove them away from each other?
Yes, thank God. They shouldn't have. It's better this way. It's better this way, yes.
Yes, some people are just better apart.
Yes.
And it works for everybody, including the family.
Especially.
Especially the family. What's the dumbest thing you've done as a teenager? Or you did as a teenager?
I did so many dumb things. I think I worked too much, honestly. When I look back, I think I was so excited to work. And I just really liked money. And so I liked having money and all the things that I could do with it. So I think working too much and not having enough time to sort of like, I didn't really travel until I was later, like older. And I think, not saving my money, just sort of like spending it on dumb things.
I think we can all relate to that to some degree.
I still may have some of those problems.
So you went to Sheridan for fashion, and then you then started into the restaurant business. What did you like as a child? What did you initially want to be?
I wanted to be a doctor. This makes no sense. I wanted to be a doctor. I loved, I thought maybe I'll be a surgeon. I have good fine motor skills. I loved, sewing and
Oh,
art. I loved art. And I was very young and my mom just sort of saw me working with I loved doing little things with my hands, painting or building things, or I loved nature. I loved, I would catch frogs and fish when we were up north and watch them. I was just a very curious child. I thought being a doctor was the responsible thing to do.
Right.
Yes.
Well, and so then I'm just I might be kind of tipping back into career a little bit, but you went to Stratford Chef School.
Yes.
What was the preface? What prompted you to do that?
Kind of like Alon, I needed some time away from our business. We had already been several years into the restaurant business, Niki and I. I found myself in a position where I was leading the kitchen team, and it's just where my skills were, but I didn't feel fully capable of doing it. And it kept coming up that I was like, I feel really frustrated, or I don't know what to do, or this isn't working out. I just felt constantly defeated, and I knew there's a better way to do this. I don't know what it is, but I know there's a better way.
Can I also jump in? Because I think that from looking at you guys from the side, honestly, you and Niki, I think are one of the hardest working people that I know. You wake up in the morning, you're running to work late in the evening. Even if you're having fun or going out, you're still partially working. And it seems to me that that the chef school was a little of that break that you're talking about.
It was. I needed a break from the business. I was. It's a lot, with your personal partner and your life, your business life and your personal life. You can't turn it off. I'm sure you can understand. Alon and Guy, like even when you're not at work, you're having a family dinner, or, even when I'm on vacation, suddenly I have an idea and I'm going, Niki, what do you think about this? And if we move the service over here, and like, maybe we can try this package. And she's just like, we just go with it, because sometimes you have ideas and you need to talk about it. And that's your sounding board, your partner. But it can be a lot,
Yeah.
Like,
for us, with my brother, Friday night dinners were taboo. So we agreed not to talk about business, but any other time was fair game. And then also when you're on holiday and crises happen, you can't escape the horrible emails that you get and that turn you white in the face. And then you think you're going to lose everything. I had a few of those, and more than I'd like to remember. So the off button doesn't go off often.
Do you find, Katy, though, that when you are on vacation, there is a sense of more space for things to arise? And that's why perhaps there's an ability to solve a problem or come up with an idea, because you're on vacation and suddenly there's room.
Yes, I think after the initial shock of being, not in your normal environment wears off, your mind can wander, and there's the space to think about things, or like marinate on things, like I was saying before. Like you have sort of an unstructured day and environment to let your brain, wander where it will.
Right.
Definitely.
So speaking of routines, what is your morning routine?
Usually I set my alarm clock too early, so then I snooze for at least 30 minutes. I have coffee delivered to my bedside table.
Oh my.
It's my one luxury. Usually I'll drink coffee in bed. We are not allowed to have phones in that 30 minutes. That is 30 minutes of just coffee and talking about whatever with no phones.
So when you say you set the alarm too early, what is too early?
Sometimes though, like if I want to be at work at, let's say 8 or 7:30, I'll set my alarm for like 6:30, because
ease into the day.
Yeah, it takes me a really long time to move from being comatose to slightly awake.
Gotcha. Okay. And where's your happy place, or what is your happy place?
I definitely love to be outside. Lately, gardening outside. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And a guilty pleasure of yours?
There's so many.
Give us a delicious one.
We want the worst ones.
The worst ones? The worst one by far is Nat Sherman menthol cigarettes. I don't smoke them a lot, but just once in a while, I really enjoy it. Wine, delicious wine, too much wine sometimes.
Do you ever combine the two?
Yes, definitely. They do go together well.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think those are they're pretty guilty, I think.
Yeah,
Just
pretty
eating
good.
a lot of croissants. I love croissants.
Who's
if you
the
could
best croissant maker in the city? Sorry, Liza, I have to ask.
That's okay.
I haven't tried, there's a few new ones, but the ones that I really enjoy are the ones from Epi.
On
Epi's,
Bayview.
Bayview, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Have you tried Tasso?
No, there's so many I haven't tried. And,
Okay.
I'll definitely get out there this summer and try more croissants.
Okay. Let's do it.
It's a good goal. Katy, if you could instantly become an expert in something, what would it be?
I think maybe making wine.
Add to the empire.
It's such a mystery to me. It's, I love trying different, winemakers' wines and hearing their stories. And I think, it's a really nice expression of terroir, but also of like a personal opinion on wine. So I think learning how to make wine or even beer, I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you talked about making beer once, so I let's see what happens.
Yeah.
So we'll move over to city. What's your favorite neighborhood in the city?
I would say tie between Kensington Market and Toronto Island. I think like Ward's Island.
Kensington keeps coming up for so
Yes.
many food people. It feels like it's this unofficial heart of the city in terms of food and coffee and vibe. I think mostly it is one of my favorite city neighborhoods too, and a lot of people that were here mentioned it.
What is it that draws you to Kensington? Is it
Yeah, I think it's a very multi-sensory experience. It's very unstructured like the rest of Toronto. Everyone has like crosswalks and the lights and I feel like every time you go there, you walk, you're walking, you're never driving. Sometimes you're biking, but you're walking through it and you're smelling the things, you're seeing the things. You never know what's going to happen. Every time you go there, it's a different experience. So I think there's that part of that sort of randomness and chaos that's really attractive because it's not like anywhere else.
Isn't it true? Like whenever you go, there are so many places to discover, and you just don't know. Yeah, I'm always surprised when there are new places, and they're not new; they're old. It's just new to me. So okay, cool. What is your favorite park in the city?
I like High Park. Yeah.
What do you like about it?
It's very large. I think I feel like I'm not in a city when I'm there. I feel like I'm in another magical place. The trees are so large and they're much more dense. You can't see or hear the cars or the people. And I think also the trails, like there's some nice trails through there.
How does it get busy there? That's the one park I haven't visited. I drive around it 1,000 times, but I've never been inside. Do you feel that are there a lot of people walking in there, or can you feel alone at times?
You can definitely feel alone at times. I think depending on what day of the week you go, like if you go on a weekend, there's going to be a lot of people there, but during the week, early or, it's sort of the dusk time, it can be very beautiful. And you see lots of people walking through there, like families or, two people walking and having conversations, and you can really get engaged because you don't feel like you're going to bump into someone. It's very large. So nice.
You can get lost without really getting lost. Like it's kind of a comfortable lost because you can find your way back.
Yeah, you walk in either direction.
Enough. Yeah, it is large enough, and it's there are parts of it that are very manicured, and there are parts of it that are not, and that's always appealing as well.
Yeah, that's the balancing of I guess maybe Central Park is like that, sort of similar, just bigger. What's your favorite coffee shop? Or I'd add to that coffee shop and roaster.
Well, I have to plug our roasters for Café Neon because I really, really love what they do. We use Propeller, and I used to go to their cafe when it was open. It's just this, it's very close to where Café Neon on Wallace is, but just a nice space where you can go and enjoy a coffee and just sort of sit there for a moment and compose yourself before you start your day. Yeah, they've been closed. I've tried to go a number of times because I've just needed that, and then they've been closed, but they're still roasting. We're still using their beans. Lately, I've been going to the Sovereign as well on Davenport near Dufferin because a friend works there. But yeah, I would say those are my two spots.
And what's your favorite, let's say, summer activity in the city?
Definitely taking my bike to Toronto Island on the ferry and just going to the beach, swimming, lying there, enjoying the sun.
I've discovered it in the past 3 years, and it just takes you to you look at the city from a completely different perspective, right? And the energy is very different too. I think, yeah. What do you think about connecting the island to the city with a bridge, or just pedestrian bridge?
No way, man. No.
Oh, come on. Why not?
It wouldn't be the same.
Well, I was not expecting that.
I expect you to agree with me. What are you talking about, Katy?
Are we connected by the underground tunnel through the
airport.
I don't think you can access the rest of the island from there. No.
No, you can't. I just find it's such a beautiful space. It's underutilized, and there's a cost barrier, especially for families. If a family takes the ferry, it's, I don't know, $10 a person. It'll be $50, $40 just to go to a park that's free. I think there's something wrong with that. I don't think obviously cars should be allowed there, but connecting it to the city in a easy way, limiting it to bicycles and pedestrians, I think could change this city. But that's me.
Well, if you think though, like, because I was not expecting that answer, Katy. I was expecting you to be all pro bridge, but it does, I guess, make it. There is a barrier, and that's unfortunate. Mm-hmm. But there's also a side to it that people that really want to go will go, and it keeps it a little more, maybe not private, but that's not the best word, but more private, or more not as busy, because it could otherwise get quite busy. And the reason people go there is perhaps to get away and think and contemplate. It's very, surrounded by water. It tends to lend itself to that ability, and that could change things if it's more accessible.
I don't know. I think if it's accessible, but there's a element of work to it, or time. So if you have to walk all the way on the bridge, or bicycle over for 15 minutes, that already creates a natural barrier where A is time. Right. You just don't hop over and go, but you make it an event. But and it takes you outdoors, and it makes you exercise. So there's a lot really good points to think about. I just would love to see it connected more.
Pedestrian bridge, I think your point is really good, like having a pedestrian bridge that's, just for walking, or just you can take a bike, but it's not for cars. And I think part of the beauty of the island is the lack of cars. And I think it would be good for, the rest of Toronto to be able to access it. But also I think some of the people that live on the island, I know, like, getting, food is difficult sometimes. And I was there last summer or the summer before, and with a friend, and we ended up on another friend's houseboat who lives on the island on this houseboat, and we're sitting on the roof, and a guy in a dinghy, he drove by in the water, and I said, "Oh my gosh, there's a guy in a boat with a bicycle," and and the friend that lives on the island said, "Well, it's more common than you think. He needs to go into the city to get stuff, and so he's going to use his boat, and then he's going to get to, the harbor, and he's going to get off and ride his bike." And I thought, well, that's obviously, yes. What was I thinking? How could I think that was unusual, but we don't see it a lot, but I guess it's a common thing there.
Well, when you don't live in that world, you don't have
No.
to, yeah, you don't think of it the same way.
Okay, so back from the island, what is the biggest bureaucratic nightmare you've ever had with a city? So in terms of city?
Building permits, committee of adjustment. I think that a lot of the growth that we've wanted to do with the business has to do with we have to deal with the city, and so dealing with that, how the departments don't talk to each other. So you have the sort of the liquor licensing, you have the sort of the zoning, and you have building permits. You have all of these different departments, and there doesn't seem to be any sort of.
Do you have an
communication.
example for when there was an issue? How long did you wait? What did that cause? That lack of communication between departments?
Everything just takes longer. We had to hire a planning consultant to help us through, and which was a good investment. It was suggested to us that we use this consultant because navigating it without that person can take twice as long even. And we waited almost 2 years to get our patio extension approved.
2 years. That's crazy.
Almost 2 years, yeah.
That's
From
crazy.
when we acquired the area to planning and everything, and it's enormous, and it holds back a lot of life and just interesting things to do in the city. I think a lot of people don't have the tenacity to stick with it and follow through and pay the things that you have to pay and hire the extra people you have to hire to get what you want to get.
I think
done.
it takes away the vibrancy of the city. So things that take time and effort and planning and money takes away from the fun element almost of trying something, succeeding or failing rather.
Yeah, there's too much bureaucracy, I think.
Yeah.
Which doesn't make sense because you're adding value. I mean, it's just not clear to me why, because you're not the first person that said this. This is, on the podcast.
It's
So
value, culture, vibrancy,
interests,
yes,
different
people onto the
change.
street, people laughing, people enjoying each other. I hope the city hears this and makes some changes. The Café TO is a little, I guess, improvement, but it's very specific, and hopefully will translate in other areas.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's the favorite charity in the city for you?
Favorite charity? I think we just started dealing with the Parkdale Community Food Bank. Prior to that, we would bring our bread to, like, when you make bread every day, you always have bread left over. So we would bring it to Sistering. I would say Sistering on Bloor is my other favorite one. Yeah.
Okay.
They have really nice kitchen staff, and they're always, happy to receive donations. So
Wonderful. So we'll move to the quick fire. Rapid questions for you.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh. No, we'll go easy. Dark chocolate or milk chocolate?
Dark chocolate.
Beer, wine, or whiskey?
Oh, whiskey? Wine. No, wine. I changed my mind. Wine.
You changed your mind. Okay, wine. Breakfast, lunch, or dinner?
Breakfast.
Home cooked meal or takeout?
Home cooked meal.
City or countryside?
Country.
Your favorite season?
Fall.
Night out or stay at home?
Night out.
Morning person or night owl? Wow.
Night owl.
I was going to say, with your morning routine, I would have guessed night owl as well. Bath or shower?
Bath.
When entering the swimming pool, do you jump in or do you tiptoe slowly?
Jump in.
Cat or dog?
Dog.
Books or Netflix or TV?
Books.
Phone call or text messages?
Phone call.
And music or podcasts?
Music.
Music. Okay. There you go.
Well, Katy, we are done officially. Thank you really very much for making the time to talk to us. We really love the city, and I think getting to know more and more people who are behind the stores, the businesses in the city, and the fabric of the city You definitely represent one of them, and you contribute a lot to the city. Is there anything you'd like to add about yourself, about the business, any messages? How do people connect with you? What are you? I would talk about the patio a little, just so you were busy this summer, because you basically had almost no income the whole year.
I would say to everyone that you should definitely get out there and support your local businesses, support especially the smaller independent restaurants. Lots of people depend on you coming and eating or getting takeout. I definitely have tried to incorporate some of those same ideals into my week. So, we have a different place every week that we try, and then we have a regular spot that we go to. If you can afford to do it, do it. If you can't afford to do it, share their posts on Instagram, tell your friends about it. You don't have to spend money to be helpful. I think even just shopping in your community, going out and, using your corner store or, just get out there and try and be helpful in any way you can. I think small business has been hurt the most over COVID. A lot of big places, Loblaws, Costco, they're doing fine. Amazon is doing fine. Go buy, a gift from a local gift store if it's someone's birthday. Do curbside. Be safe, obviously, but try and find ways to support your community other than going on Amazon or Costco.
Yeah, it's the convenient, right? Less convenient and more soul.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also just use if you can call the restaurant to place your order, or if you can use their, if they have an in-house ordering app, the third-party apps are great, but they take a huge percentage, like up to 25% of the fee goes to them. All of the money that you spend in a small place, it goes to the business.
Yeah, thank you for reminding us about that. That's a huge one. Very good.
And thank you so much for joining us, Katy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
Bye.
Thank you.
The Upfront Toronto podcast.